Alright, you want to begin by hitting on your Windows button, and we want to go ahead and start all programs. We want to look for Microsoft Visual Studio 2010. Once again, Microsoft Visual Studio 2010. This is our IDE, or Integrated Developer Environment, Microsoft Visual Studio 2010. It then starts. It takes a little bit for it to start up, but this is the main program in which you will be working the entire time. After that, you will then do a file. We want to do a new project from there. A file, new project. File, we're going to do a new project. From there, after we start our new project, it takes a little bit for that to open up, but you'll notice on the right the Solution Explorer should appear. Alright. So we want to go ahead and we want to choose a different type of language, whatever language we're dealing with. Notice we have Visual C++, C#, F#. What we want to do is we want to go ahead and choose Visual Basic. Choose Visual Basic. You'll notice the window changes slightly. We have a number of different type of application starts off to in the middle there. We want to open up our Visual Basic environment. There we are. And then we want to click on Windows and Windows Form Application. You'll notice when you're actually naming things, you want to call it such as if it's Chapter 2, Problem Number 1, we want to call it 2-1. If it's Chapter 3, Problem Number 1, we want to call it 3-1. In our case, in this example, it's Problem 1 from Chapter 2, so we call it 2-1. So after we call it 2-1, we want to push OK. And then starts our actual loading screen. It's going to load up our forms, it's going to load our Solution Explorer, and it's going to give us our information to work with. Now in our example, we do not have the toolbox off to the left, which we will open up in a minute. But you'll notice right here, 2-1, we have our Solution Explorer, we have the form we're going to work with. We do not have our toolbox open, so we want to view. We want to hit our view, and then we want to hit our toolbox, which is also Control-Alt-X. That's going to bring our toolbox up. We can pin that in place. That gives our options with all the different objects, which we'll learn more about later. We have our main form, and then we have our items on the right-hand side for Solution Explorer. Then we want to do a file. In order to save, we want to do a file, a save all. That's going to bring up a dialog box. Notice the name and a solution name are both 2-1, Chapter 2, Problem Number 1. Now in your case, you would normally navigate to your network folder. We would hit our browse, then our network folder would be located in the computer or in the network resources, either one. It would usually have the first letter of your first name and your last name. In my case, we're going to the desktop. I'm going to right click. I'm going to choose a new folder, I'm going to name that Programming. If it's the first time you've loaded this up and did it, you want to call it Programming. Inside the Programming folder, whoops, I forgot to go ahead and make that inside our Programming folder, so we notice is now located at Programming. We want to choose our Browse again. We're going to create a folder inside this, and we're going to call this Chapter 2. Chapter 2 because this is 2-1 as our example. So that's the place that it'll actually save all the Visual Basic items, which will be a folder actually with the name and the solution name and have all the contents of it. If you have, we'll go ahead and save it. If you have any further questions, please post them on the discussion board or direct them towards your sub. Thank you for your time.